My salutations to each one of you. What is between B and D? What comes between B and D? The answer is C. I rephrase the question. What comes between birth and death? The answer is chance. Chance for what? Chance to ascend, chance to rise to the fullest potential, chance to change for the better, chance to expand awareness. Now, if a mental state has worry, it leads you to funeral. If a mental state has positivity, it expands awareness. And if I can say this in a better way, चित्त में चिंता हो तो चिता की ओर जाते हैं, चित्त में चिंतन हो तो चेतना की ओर जाते हैं. ठीक है? This is what I translated. So chit is mental state, chinta is worry, chita is funeral, and chintan is positivity. So it is your choice whether you can do chinta or you can do chintan. And chintan will lead you to consciousness. When you talk about why, then it causes worry in you. Why is like this? Why am I fat? There is no answer. It will make you stressful. Now, if you change your question and make it, how can I reduce my weight? Then yes, then it is a positive question. It will lead to positivity. So know why will help you in life. Only the house will help you in life. Don't look for why. Why has no solution. How? No. Today's topic is life mission. Now, before we talk on this topic, let us understand what is life. When you are born, life begins. When you die, life ends. That means life is between birth and death. But that is not the reality. That is not the reality. Because life has begun before your birth and life will remain even after your death. Life has been there throughout. Now this birth and death is this lifetime only. You were existing before this and you will be existing after this also. So life has been going on. Now this is a chance. This time you got a chance to do something. Now you do it or you don't do it. It's your wish. You can ascend, you may not ascend. You may accept this chance and take it as a challenge and do something about your life. Most of us don't even know where to go in life. Most of us are not even aware. It's something like, I want to go for a holiday. Okay, fine. Where do you want to go? I don't know. Anywhere. I just want to go for a holiday. Okay, fantastic. You want to go for a holiday? Where do you want to go? You don't know. How much is your budget? I don't know, but I want to go for a holiday. Something like that. So where will you reach? You will not reach anywhere. You boarded the train. I want to go somewhere. Now where? Which station? So life mission is, it will give you the exact destination. It will give you the route. It will tell you how much fare will it go, how much paints and tools you will be using. So that is life mission. If you're playing soccer, there has to be a goal post. Otherwise, what is the use of playing soccer? So there has to be goal in life. There has to be a goal in life. Otherwise, you're heading nowhere. Every day you say, no, I do this, I do what and for what is your ultimate objective? What are your short-term goals? What are your intermediate goals? What are your final goals? And what is your life mission? Life mission is something in the fourth stage. First of all, what is your short-term mission? What do you want to achieve in the next week? What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve in next 1 year? What do you want to achieve in next 10 years? What do you want to achieve in this life? And all have to be aligned. All the 4 objectives must be aligned. You cannot keep them, my short-term objective is to my left and my life objective is to my right. That cannot happen. They have to be in alignment. I ultimately want to be a doctor, but I'm studying engineering. Something like that. It doesn't work. So we all know the importance of life mission. It's not that we are not aware, but none of us have made our life mission. And if you have no mission, you reach nowhere. If you don't know the destination, you don't reach anywhere. Now, when we talk about life mission, there could be many approaches to it. For worldly people, the answer is of a different kind. For spiritual people, the answer would be, of course, will be different. And for philosophical people, answer will be even different. So, even other than this also, there could be some more answers. There could be more variants to life mission. And mind you, life mission will differ from person to person. It's not that my life mission is going to match with your life mission. You will have some other mission, I will have something else. 10 years ago, I had something else as my life mission, and today it is something else. Today it is something else, and maybe tomorrow something else. So it keeps evolving. As you progress, you keep learning and keep revising your life mission. But overall direction will remain same. Now, when we talk about the worldly people, their life mission, first of all, if you ask any person, normal person, what is your life mission? What is your objective of life? What do you want to really achieve from this life? He might tell you, I want to get good life. And which is rightly so. It's not a wrong answer after all. But having said so, now when you ask him to define good life, the answer will differ. Now good life as per Rajrishi could be something else. As per Amar, good life could be something else. So what is good life to you may not be good life to Amar. But yes, both say the answer is same. I want a good life. I want to be, materially successful. Fine, understandable. But then you have to define exactly what you really mean. I've seen some people, they make their life mission and they paste it in on their office desk, in their home, at a prominent place. They place it over there so that they are reading it. On the fridge, they put it with a magnet so that every time they are reading their life mission. Most of us are not even having life mission. So you need to have a life mission. If you don't have a life mission, where are you reaching? What are you doing? Where are you going? You don't know. You really don't know where are you going. So the first point I say is good life. Now, what is good life? For you, it could be something. For me, it could be good life is not good looks. Good life is not feeling good, being, having the goods or looking good. No. It could be good life is doing good and being good. So good life could be different for different people. Success could be different for different people. What is success to you may not be success to me. So even these, when you say, I really want to be successful, no, that's not good enough. You have to really define exactly, and the tools you are going to use, and your intermediate objective, a final objective, life objective, everything. You have to define everything. And you have to see the progress. How much are you progressing? The second point, most of the people, which is a very common answer, when you ask somebody, what do you want in life? I want happiness. This is the most usual answer by most of the people. I just want to be happy. I just want to be happy. Wonderful. Very good. I mean, nothing wrong with the objective. So I just want to be happy. Very nice. Now, when a student is studying in school, you ask him, why are you studying? He says, I want to, get a job. That's why I'm studying. Okay, very good. Now, when he is doing a job, you ask him, why are you doing a job? No. I'm doing a job because I want to get some money. Oh, very good. You want to get some money. Now, what will you do with getting money? No, because I want to buy some assets and all that. Okay, what will you do with those assets? I mean, I want to buy a car and a house, and take a credit card and whatnot. Then what will you do with that? Then I will be happy. I'll enjoy. If enjoyment is your objective in life, then why go through such a long route? I will do this, then this, then this, and then this, and then I will finally be happy. You can be happy even right now. You can be happy. You don't have to work for happiness. You can work from happiness. And when you work from happiness, the results are different. I mean, it's a world of difference. Working for happiness, you're chasing something. And when you work, you're working from happiness. So results would be totally different. And happiness is a derivative of life mission. It's a derivative of life mission. Happiness cannot be your life mission. Happiness cannot be your life mission. Happiness is a derivative. You want to achieve something in life. You want to reach somewhere. You want to have some goal in life. And once you achieve that, happiness is automatic. Happiness is a journey. On the way, there will be happiness. I'll be happy every moment. No, I'm searching for. Once I reach on the top of the mountain, then I'll be happy. And to get onto the mountain will take me 5 years. So I'll remain unhappy for all those 5 years. And then I'll remain at the top of the mountain for how much? How long? Probably 2 minutes or 5 minutes. That's all. Then again, back to square one. So you don't be in search of happiness. So when people say happiness is my life mission, it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. There is a Japanese concept, we must have heard about it. Most of us are familiar with that word, ikigai. Reason for being. That's the literal meaning of the word, ikigai. In 1966, a Japanese professor came out with this theory. Ikigai is a concept that you do what you love to do. You do in your life what you love to do. Okay. Now, what do you love to do? You love to play guitar, or you love to play cricket, or you love to, sing a song, or whatever. Or you love to cook, or whatever. Or you love to do business, whatever. So you do what you love to do. And then he said, you do what you are good at. So you love to play guitar, very good, but you are not a good guitarist. That can happen. You love to cook, but then when the guests come, they vow not to come back again. So you say, I love to cook. Fantastic. You want to cook? Very good. But are you competent to cook? Is also another question. So he said, what you love to do? What are you good at doing? And thirdly, does the world require that? Whatever you are doing, does the world require that? You say that I love to do this. Very good. But does the world require that? Is there a shortage of that kind of work or skill in this world? That is important. Because when you say, I love to do this, fantastic, nothing wrong. So that is your passion. I'm good at it. Wonderful. That's your profession. Now, does the world require that? I want to be a carpenter. Very nice. But then nobody needs furniture in my, vicinity. Nobody needs furniture. Now, what that carpentry will not take me far. I want to be a steel trader. But nobody buys steel in this town. Everybody makes houses without steel. So does the world require that? So we have spoken about three. What do you love to do? What are you good at doing? Does the world require? And the fourth point he spoke about, will you get money for it? Now, will you get money for it? Once you fulfill all the four criteria, you love it, you are good at it, the world needs it, and you will get money for it. When all the four criteria are fulfilled, then it is Ikigai. So he said, then that is the work you should be doing. You may be good at few things. You may love to do this. But then all the four must, fall into place. If you want to be a guitarist, very good. But nobody is willing to pay you for playing guitar. Then it is not Ikigai. So it's something like some people say, I'm into this business. Very good. And then at the second instance, he would say, oh, but I don't enjoy it. I tell you, I'm so damn bored. Every day I have to go to office. I'm sick and tired of it. No, that means there's a mismatch. There is a mismatch. So it is not Ikigai. So life mission is that I want to achieve Ikigai, which is perfectly fine. And that will take you far. That will really take you far. Because what you love, what are you good at? The world needs that, and you will get paid for it. Once all the four criteria are fulfilled, then it's a valid activity and you should pursue that. So we have spoken about good life. We have spoken about happiness. We have spoken about Ikigai. Now the fourth point, which is, these are the points we are talking about, the worldly people, those who are worldly people. Most of us, 95% people are worldly people. They have nothing to do with spiritualism. They are miles away from God and all those things. So the fourth one is legacy. What legacy are you going to leave behind? When you die, how many people will cry for you? Have you ever thought about it? How many people will honestly cry for you? Barring your own close family people, one or two, that's it. How many people will cry for you? How many people will come to attend your funeral? And what legacy are you going to leave behind? What is going to be written in your tombstone? Have you ever thought about it? I remember a story. You know about this Alfred Nobel, on whom this Nobel Prize is nominated. He was the one who did the funding for that, a huge amount. And from that annual income of that fund, that foundation, this award is given. Alfred Nobel. He was the inventor of dynamite. We know this. And many other inventions he had done. He really contributed to the mankind. He really did a fantastic job. And he was a great scientist also. What happened? One day in the morning when he woke up, he picked up the newspaper, and in the front page of the newspaper, he was reading his own obituary. That Alfred Nobel died, and he was uh, he was, I don't remember the exact language, something like, but what he was a mass murderer. This was written in his obituary. He has been instrumental in mass murders. And this man was shocked. He said, my God, what is this? What have I done in this world that this is how people remember me? And anyway, he was alive and he was reading his own obituary. Then he realized that actually his cousin had died. His name was also Nobel. And instead of naming him, they named him in the newspaper. So he was reading his own obituary. And that obituary turned his life. That day, he said, this is how the world is going to remember me. That I'm a mass murderer and I've been instrumental in killing so many people. Because he invented dynamite, and in World War, dynamite was used extensively to kill people. But he was a scientist. He was not instrumental. He developed that. It's like I make a blade and you become a pickpocket with that blade. Then you say, no, Arun Sharma has to be blamed because he's the inventor of blade. It's something like that. After that, Alfred Nobel changed. He sold off all his assets. He made a foundation and he donated his entire amount. He said that I've read my obituary. I know how world will remember me. And I don't want them to remember me like that. And now the world remembers him with a lot of respect. Nobel Prize is the most respected prize. So you see how he changed. Within few years, he changed perception of people. We also have few years left with us. How will people remember you? You have to prepare right now from today onwards. You don't wait. No, I'll deal with it later on. How will you deal with it? So legacy. What legacy? What footprint are you going to leave? How will your children remember you? How will your relatives, your grandchildren, how will they remember you? Oh, he was a drunkard. Oh, he was a smoker. Oh, he was a failure. Oh, he was like this. I mean, how will they take pride in you? What have you done? So that legacy is another point. You must leave. You must know what legacy are you going to leave? So some people, though they are worldly people, but they work for their legacy. Another one is, I have come across, which is a very practical point, that people say, oh, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. But then, I don't have time. No, if you don't have time, I mean, death will not spare you. Oh, I don't have time. You won't be spared for that statement. Now let us, so what all points we spoke about? One is for worldly people, it is life, good life, then happiness, ikigai, legacy, and do you have time to grow and improve your life? So these are the five points. Now, if you're a spiritual person, then of course, your objective will be, your life mission will be something else. Somebody who's a spiritual person, his life mission won't be happiness, his life mission won't be, ikigai or all these things. Now, what could be the life mission for a spiritual person? He would like to enrich the world. He would make a hospital, he would create institutions, he will do lavish charities, he would, make hostels, he'll do many more things because he wants to enrich the world. He would be a scientist. so that he invents something. Say you invent something today which will remove the poverty of the world or reduce the poverty of the world. What kind of favor you're doing to the mankind? Or you could be a music composer. You create something which will give solace to millions and millions of people. You can be Beethoven, you could be Mozart, you could be a great philanthropist. Some people often tell me, I've come across, that I want to do a lot, I really want to, make a hospital, I want to make a school, I want to do this, I want to do, but then, I have no money. Some people say this. There was a man in Gaya, in eastern Bihar, eastern part of Bihar. And this man, his wife met with an accident. He used to live in a village, and to go to the nearest hospital, they had to walk for 55 kilometers. So this man, his wife got injured. He lifted her up, picked her up on the shoulders, and took her to the hospital, the nearest hospital. So he had to walk for 55 kilometers. And on the way, owing to excessive bleeding, she died. This man made a vow to himself that this mountain which hindered me to take my wife to the clinic, I will cut out this mountain. Ridiculous. How can you cut out a mountain? But he made a vow. And this man was an illiterate person. This man was a poor person. This man was a daily wage earner. This man had no agricultural income. This man came from a community of rat eaters, Musahar. That is the name of the community. So he was from an untouchable community. So you can understand a man who was weak in all respects. And so everybody in the village laughed at him. They said, you will cut out the mountain. Okay, fine. You wouldn't believe, after a few days, he took a small hammer and chisel and started cutting that mountain. People gathered and children were playing around and they were all laughing that this fellow has become cranky. But he kept on doing it. He was very focused. He wanted to, he knew what he was doing. He would start every day early in the morning and he'll do it till late in the night. Every day he would do that. And some days people would come and give him food and he would eat food, and some days he wouldn't get food. The story went on like this. Friends, you will not believe it. He worked for 22 years relentlessly. No holidays, nothing, 22 years. He worked and he cut out the whole mountain. He converted that road of 55 kilometers into a road of, if I correctly remember, 15 kilometers. He converted. His name was Dasarath Majhi. Nitish Kumar, the Chief Minister of Bihar, sent him an invitation. The district collector came to his house. He said, Chief Minister has called you. And before that, so many cases were filed on him. Police harassed him. He went to lock up and many more things happened with him. Let's cut the story short. Fast forward. Nitish Kumar called him in Patna. And he got up from his chair and Nitish Kumar told him that, sir, you sit on my chair. Something what PWD department cannot do it, you have done it. He cut out the mountain in 22 years. That road has been named after him. No, that is legacy. That is something, I mean, what bigger charity can one think about? So this excuse that I have no money, I don't have time, all that is futile. It's all futile. It's all futile. Some people who don't have money, some people who don't have anything in life, still they can do charity. See, over here, let me give you a live example. In the screen, you can see Catherine. She gives huge money every month for charity. Huge money. Other than money, she goes and gives her time to the old age home. Other than that, she goes to, what do you call? Catherine, would you like to explain a bit? What do you do? She goes to many other forums to give her time. She gives money. She gives food. She goes and cleans the toilet of people. Can you believe it? This lady who's sitting right in front of you. So, I mean, can you think about, let us all give a round of applause to her. Catherine, we are very proud of you. What you have done, others cannot do it.
Teaches yoga to old people free of cost.
Free of cost, many people can do, Gopal, but what she does is much more than that.
Yeah,
much more than that. Going and cleaning the toilets in old age home.
Great, I've got great admiration for her.
She goes to old people's house and does Diwali cleaning for them. So which is not simple.
Not at all, by no means.
See, I can pay money and get anybody's toilet cleaned up. I can do that. But cleaning it myself is something really, it's not so easy to be done. I can talk about it, but then she has demonstrated it. So enriching can be done in many ways. You all are familiar with that story of Sindhu Tai. You all know that story. On this also, Dasarath Majhi also, a movie has been made. You can see that movie, Majhi.
In fact, I saw it 10 days ago.
Okay.
On Netflix. Is that on Netflix?
So this movie, Majhi movie, you can see.
Majhi the Mountain Man.
The other one, Sindhu Tai, another movie has been made on her. Fortunately, this lady is still alive. She was thrown out of her family. Her husband threw her out. And then what did she do? She started an orphanage. Where did she live? She lived in a graveyard. How did she survive? She would steal the dough offered in the graveyard as a pinddan. She would steal that dough and make her own chapatis out of it. So those who really want to enrich the society, they can do it. They don't invent excuses. Now, other than this, when we are talking about spiritualism, so this is the first step of spiritualism, that you want to enrich the world. And enriching can be done in many, many ways. You can be really innovative. You can be a scientist, you can be a player, you can be a painter, you can be, you can be a teacher, you can be a businessman also. Ratan Tata. Now look at how he's enriching the world. It's not that only people of one profession does it. No, not that. So you can be a businessman and still you can enrich the world. You can be Bill Gates and you can enrich the world. So it's not that you're an industrialist, you can't enrich the world. You can be highly spiritual. It's not that people who wear saffron robe, they only are spiritual. No, it's not that. Even others are equally. Ratan Tata, I consider him to be a masterpiece. Look at his contribution. The second point I would like to say, when you are on the spiritual, you are a spiritual seeker and you're looking for a life mission. For some people, it could be the journey or that curiosity, inquisitiveness to know the self. Who am I? Now this, who am I? So now this question has been there since time immemorial. This question was asked 10,000 years ago also. It was asked many years ago, and it is even today, this question is equally relevant. Who am I? So, I am the soul. And then what is soul? Soul is Sat Chit Anand. I am the truth. I am the consciousness. I am the bliss. So the definition of soul is Sat Chit Anand. And when you add up all these living entities in this world, all the living entities, when you add up, so the sum total is what? Is God. So when you add up all these living entities, so there is no difference between any living entity and God. Because you are a particle of that. When you add up the life in plant, life in animals, life in an ant, and life in human being, life in a nice person, life in a bad person, and all those lives are collected together, then collectively you call it God. So God also is defined as Satchidanand, and your soul is also defined as Satchidanand. It is the same water. Whether you look at the ocean, it is the same water, and whether you take one bucket out of it, it is the same water. So you are a soul. So that how you know that journey of knowledge, where you try to discover yourself. You try to find out about yourself. You try to understand more about your soul. You understand the journey of soul. You try to disassociate your body, mind with the soul. So some people, when they are on the spiritual path, this is their life mission. That yes, I want to discover myself. See, a lot can be spoken on this, but then I'm just touching these points. There's another one. Some people say, no, the objective is not to discover the soul. Then what is the objective? The objective is liberation, moksha. So for a spiritual seeker, life mission could be moksha, that I want to attain moksha. Wonderful. Now the route to moksha is through self-realization. Route to moksha is through enlightenment. If you are not enlightened, you cannot get moksha. So that is an intermediate destination. You have to be enlightened. That's the qualifying. You wouldn't get admission into IIT till you are passed the entrance exam. So the entrance is you have to be enlightened. So first you become enlightened. So the route is through enlightenment. You have to be enlightened. And how to be enlightened? So we have already spoken about this in the previous class. How to be enlightened, we spoke about it. So anyway, so intermediate goal is to be enlightened, and the final goal is to be liberated. Moksha. Moksha is when you are out of the cycle of birth and death. So you are out of this cycle. You are a soul, you go and merge with the super soul. Now, there's another one, which is even considered higher than this. There are certain spiritual seekers, they say, no, I don't want liberation. I don't want liberation. See, nothing is right, nothing is wrong. Don't say, no, this is the right one and this is the wrong one. This is the right way, this is the wrong way. No, nothing is right, nothing is wrong. You choose what suits you. You choose what, you are compatible with. So some people say, no, I don't want moksha, I don't want liberation. Then what do you want? I want to be a devotee. I want to attain bhakti. And I want to remain a bhakt. I want to remain a devotee. Forever. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said that God, I don't want liberation. I don't want anything. If you please and if you are happy, just keep me as your devotee forever. Every time if I take a birth, then I must remain your devotee. Every time I must remain your devotee. I must love you without a purpose. I must love you selflessly. That is the kind of devotion, God, you give it. So that could be your life mission. That could be your life objective. So what are the 4 points we spoke about? So first one was, what was the point first? Yeah, enriching the word. Second one was Satchit Anand, journey of soul. Third was liberation, moksha. And the fourth is devotion. Now in ISKCON they call it Krishna consciousness. Perfectly fine. There are some people call it by some other name. Doesn't matter. Basic objective is that you want to be a devotee. Devotee means pure love for God, not for getting any rewards from God. When you love God without a reason, without a purpose, without any intention, without anything wanting in return, then that is devotion. Then that is devotion. So let me do a quick recap. As a worldly person, when you have a life objective, what are the 4 points? Either you want a good life, or you want happiness, or you want ikigai, or you want legacy. One of the 4, or maybe combination of a few. So as a worldly person, if you are a worldly person, so everybody doesn't have a spiritual inclination. Everybody is not a spiritual seeker. Some people are worldly people. So if you are a worldly person, then yes, these are your options. If you are a spiritual seeker, then your options are either you enrich the world, or you search in the pursuit of knowledge. Who am I? Satchit Anand. The third was liberation, and the fourth is devotion, bhakti. And there is an argument between people whether liberation is bigger or devotion is bigger. So let's not go into that argument. You whatever you like, you choose it. It's okay. Now there is another third side to it. When we talk about life mission, there is a third side to it. Now, what is that third side? It's a philosophical side. Some philosophers, some means a few rather, have argued, and this point also has to be considered. You cannot dismiss this point at all. No, I don't believe in philosophical aspect of it. No, some people have argued, and they have said that this life, the word used is, this life is Leela. And the literal meaning of the word Leela is play. Play. Do you know the difference between the word game and play? We can read. Leela is play. So Leela means play. So the difference between Leela or play and game. In a game, there is a winner and there is a loser. But in play, there is no winner, there is no loser. When you ask a small child of 5 year or 4 year, what are you doing? He says, I'm playing. And then if you ask him a question, why are you playing? There is no answer to that. That question itself is a stupid question. What do you mean, why are you playing? Makes no sense. The child would say, I'm playing because I'm playing. That's it. So, some philosophers have argued that life is Leela. Life is a play. And when a child is playing, what objective is there? Is there any objective of a child? He has no objective. He's just playing. For the sake of playing, he's playing. And as the child grows, he stops playing. Then he starts playing games. When he grows, then he doesn't play anymore. And when he plays game, then there is an objective. He wants to win the game. Then there is a life objective is there. Yes, I want to be a winner. life has no mission. Take it with a pinch of salt. Life has no objectives. When I ask you, what is the purpose of love? What is the answer to this? What is the purpose of love? Is there an answer to it? I don't think you have an answer to this. You don't have an answer to this. The purpose of love is love. The purpose of life is life. There is no purpose outside life. The purpose is within life. There is nothing outside life. If I say, what is the purpose of goodness? The purpose of goodness, can you define? You cannot say. There is no answer to this. What is the purpose of peace? What is the purpose of beauty? Now, these questions don't have an answer. Similarly, life is something bigger than all this. Life is much bigger. Life has no mission. Life has no objective. Life has no purpose. Because when you say mission, life mission is in the future. Mission is not today. Mission is in the future. Purpose is in the future. And life is right now. Life is right now. Life is in the moment. Life is in the present. Life is in the moment and the mission is in the future. So it becomes an oxymoron. Either you are with life or you are with the mission. You can't be with both. So there is nothing called life mission.
But if you need to reach moksha, suppose, then again there is a purpose to reach.
This is a third category of people. I said philosophers. They argue this way. So this is the third perspective I was giving you. If you are a worldly person, we have understood 1, 2, 3, 4. If you are a spiritual person, moksha is a route taken by spiritual people. But what about philosophers? Everybody is not a spiritual person. Some people are philosophers like Amar. So now they argue about every point. So mission is in the future. Life is right now. Life is in the moment. Life is in the present. You cannot, if you go for the mission, the life is lost. Life is lost. You keep chasing the mission, and the life is going away. What is most important is, see, something within us, whatever is ticking, that is life. And when you talk about the world, what is world? Your experience about the outside is the world. The day you die, the world is over. Whatever you know about the world, that is world to you. When you say, in this world, so in this world is what? Whatever you know about the world, that's all. Whatever is your imagination of the world, whatever is your thought, whatever is you have seen, whatever you have felt, whatever, so that is world. And that world is relevant, that world is relevant only till you are alive. The day you die, the world is over. Where is the world? So the world is only your conception, your imagination, your creation in the mind. Similarly, mission is your mind's creation. I need to have this as a mission. Very good. It's your mind's creation. Tomorrow you become lunatic. No more mission. No more mission. Because the mind is unstable now. So you don't have a mission. It is your mind which has a mission. This is quite subtle. So it is your mind which has a mission. So when we say life mission, objective of life, it's not you, your mind, which is saying. And the bigger the mission, bigger is your ego. I want to do this. I want to achieve this. Fantastic. No, that is your ego. Bigger the mission, bigger the ego. Now, when you talk about life mission, then nothing is bigger than life. How can mission be bigger than life? Life is life. And the objective of life cannot be outside life. It has to be within life. You see, honestly speaking, life needs no mission. If you look for a mission, life will be lost. Art of living is living without a mission. Life is in the present and mission is in the future. The purpose is in the future and life is in the present. Now, one philosopher, he said, I agree with this. He said, life has no purpose. I agree. And that philosopher is still surviving. That philosopher is still surviving. But then he changed it, tweaked it a bit. He said something else. He said, there are two aspects in life. One is the inner life and the outer. So the inner purpose is to be in the present. Inner purpose is to be in the present. And the outer purpose is to be with the mission. So I'm giving you a philosophical perspective. You want to disregard it, you can disregard it wholesale. There's no problem. I'm just giving you what is the worldly person's perspective about life mission, what is the spiritual person's perspective on life mission, and what is a philosopher's perspective on life mission. So mission is in the future and it is something outside, not within me. Not within me. So inner purpose. So when we say life purpose, he said there's inner life purpose and there's outer life purpose. Outer life purpose is the mission. And the inner purpose is to be in the present. And that mission will come through the present. The mission will come through the present. See, if you've seen a rosary bead, when you count your beads. So any bead, the bead is over here. So you keep pulling it, and the bead comes here. So everything has to pass through this. The life has to go through this present. The future will become present, then only it is life for you. Otherwise, it is not life. And the moment it has happened, then it is past for you. So neither past is life, nor future is life. Life is only in the present. Every moment you have to be in the present. And as I told you, sum total of all the life, the plant life or the animal life or the human life or any other form of life, if you sum total of all the life, you would say is God. We all say God is sum total of all the lives. So when you say objective of life, life objective, then you would also ask, what is the objective of God? No, this is a weird question. Life has no objective. God doesn't have objective. If life has objective, then God will also have an objective. Because life is a subset of God only. Now, so these are three perspectives which I gave you. The spiritual aspect, the